Welcome to Dream Stories Podcast for this edition. We were out last week. We missed a week.
Yes, welcome. I mean, for 2 years I thought Michael was welcoming me. I realized last week we were welcoming, or 2 weeks ago, a whole audience.
Yeah, lots of people. We didn't welcome anybody last week, though. I mean, we actually took a vacation. We were away, and we had a weekend away for Lisa's birthday.
No, that's not why we went.
It was partially why we went.
I don't know, but it was a good birthday.
It was. You had a bunch of your boys with you. And
I did. I have 4 sons, and 3 of them were able to go with us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was good.
And you celebrated your 29th.
I celebrated my
Again.
29th birthday for the, I don't know.
Quite a few times.
50th time.
Not that many. Good Lord.
I mean, I just pulled a number out of there.
You celebrated it for the...
Oh,
I
stop.
don't know.
Just
Okay,
go
several
on.
times. Okay. All right.
I'm 55. Let's just say it. I'm 55.
Yeah, so 36 times.
Yeah, something like that.
Is that right?
I
No,
don't
not
know.
36.
That's too much.
26 times.
That takes too much brain power for me to even think about. So.
All right. Well, hey, listen, I was thinking because we were in the mountains and I got inspired to do some of my Thursday devotionals while we were in the mountains and film some of those while we were up there.
Yeah.
We were in the mountains, the Great Smoky Mountains.
I thought you were going to say we were in the mountains smoking.
We were in the mountains smoking, yes.
No,
we were not smoking.
We were in the Great Smoky Mountain National Forest.
Yes, National Park.
National Park.
Yeah, it's not just a national forest.
That's true.
Yeah. So anyway, we were there. I got inspired to film some things. And while we were out filming, because folks don't know, on Facebook, I do a Thursday morning devotional as well, just a little 1-minute devotion. And I filmed a couple of those while we were there just because of the beauty of the things around us. And I thought maybe today we could talk about symbols. We do that every so often. And we could talk about the symbols you find in the mountain. And we could just think about some of the beautiful things we saw, some of the exciting things that happened, like,
wow,
you know.
Yeah.
Well,
can we talk about that for a minute?
We have to talk about what it can mean in a dream too, though.
I'm going to.
I know. Okay, so to alleviate suspense, I'm going to let Lisa tell you her story, and then you can consider as you listen to or watch this podcast, if this were a dream, what would it mean? Because it was not a dream.
Yes, it was.
It was. Which one? Which one are you going to talk about?
Okay. So before we left...
Oh, yes, it was a dream. That's right. So it was a dream and a reality. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So before we left for the... Well, let me just say, while we were in the mountains, we were in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So we were there with our sons. We had played putt-putt a few nights before, and we all enjoyed it, and we thought we're going to go and redo that. And it was my birthday.
It was your birthday. And if you're not from the U.S. and you listen to us or you watch, look up Gatlinburg on the internet and see. It's just a big touristy
it's very
mountain
touristy.
town.
It is very touristy.
Miniature golf and lots of shops and shopping places and food places galore.
Yeah.
So anyway, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, very touristy, but... you know, like it has the Ripley's, believe it or not. It has all these, you know,
the big
aquarium and all this stuff. Very much touristy. But anyway, so I needed to go to the restroom.
Yes, we were getting ready to buy our tickets.
We were actually at this little kiosk, and no one was there, and we were kind of just waiting on them to arrive. And then someone said, well, it's up the hill. And I was like, well, hey, let me take this moment to go to the restroom. So I ran up the hill, and y'all waited down at the bottom of the hill. So I ran up the hill. We were waiting to buy the
tickets.
Yes, and it was up by the little putt-putt place. But I go up, turn the corner, and I find the lady who works in that area. And I said, hey, I heard the restroom's up here. Can you point the way? She said, yes, it's this way. And as we turned around, about 10 feet from me is a bear.
A big bear. Not a little bear.
He was not little. He could have hurt me. I mean... Michael, he
was probably about a 400-pound black bear.
Interestingly, the week before, for some reason, I had, no, it wasn't the week before, it was the day we left to go to the mountains. So that would have been Saturday. I think Friday morning I woke up and I had had a dream. Yep. And I had dreamed that I had opened a door and there was a bear outside. And I remember talking to someone and saying to them, there's a bear over there. Be quiet, don't wake it, because if we wake it, it may have a little baby and we could be in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, then there was this little baby bear wandering around, and then this bear, I knew in my mind, had kind of adopted that baby bear, but they were all sleeping, and I just wanted them to sleep. And anyway, this dream went on. Me and Sarah, I gently slipped Sarah into a little above ground swimming pool so she could swim and have fun, and then I got out, and I was trying to protect her. So we were trying to have fun, but be quiet. Anyway, I didn't know what the dream meant. I even asked you. I think I shared it with my sister.
I did remember at first you had the dream, but now that you talk about it, I remember you talking to me about it.
Yeah, so listen. So after I had that dream, that was like on Friday, I looked up, what should you do if you encounter a bear?
And you did not do
but
that.
But I wasn't even thinking about Gatlinburg. So I wasn't even thinking I'm going to encounter a bear when I go to Gatlinburg. Oh, I know what I was thinking. I remember now. Okay, so I've been wanting to go down the Appalachian Trail for a long time.
Yes,
Be a hiker. I want to do a through hike. You know, that hadn't come to pass yet. But I wanted to do the Appalachian Trail. It goes from the Georgia mountains all the way up to Maine. It takes about 4 months or whatever. And I was thinking, oh, I don't know if I'd want to do that because I might encounter a bear. So I went and looked up, what should you do if you encounter a bear? How do you respond?
And just for the sake of people who listen, it's what should you do if you encounter a black bear?
Okay.
You do different things if you
for
encounter a grizzly bear.
Yes.
And if you encounter a polar bear, you just pray.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing you can do.
Right. Okay. So
go ahead.
So one of the things it says is, don't run. You shouldn't run because you're going to incite them to have a response, an animal response, which is to chase you, you know. So because I had learned that, I knew that I should not run. But do you know what I did?
I know exactly what you did.
Listen, I had to go to the bathroom, so it wasn't a sprint, but it was very fast. Let me get out of here kind of run.
If you've ever heard the old joke about, what do you do when you encounter a bear and the person says, I can't run very fast. And the other person says, well, I don't have to run fast. I just have to run faster than you.
Right.
That's what you did. You ran off and left the poor attendant from the miniature golf place.
Well, I ran down the hill and I was kind of running.
No, she did not run down the hill. You have to understand that we see her coming fast walking. It was definitely a fast walk, not a run. She wasn't running. It was a fast walk.
Well, for two reasons. I had to go to the bathroom.
Well, that's true.
The second reason was I knew I wasn't supposed to run. So I ran at first.
Then you slowed down
after you
got ahead of the attendant.
And all I could think of was that bear is running right behind me. Oh, my God. I mean, now it just I just shuddered when I thought of it again, seeing that bear. And y'all didn't believe me.
Well, you have to understand we did not believe you. It's true. You have to understand she comes fast walking down this hill, down this walkway, saying, he's a bear, he's a bear, he's a bear, he's a bear.
I was saying, bear, bear,
right.
bear, bear. And they were like, what? I was like, there's a bear up there. And they were like, you said, a real bear?
I know.
Well,
I mean,
honestly,
all I could think of was you had been to the bathroom and you were coming back and you were giving us a hard time. And there was like a big carving or something of a bear on the putt-putt course or something.
Oh, my gosh, no.
And that you were coming back to just sort of poke fun at us.
I don't think you would have believed me if the lady had not shown you the video that she took.
No. I believed you once I got to the top of the hill and everybody was trying to see the bear at that point. You stayed at the bottom. I have to acknowledge and admit, I ran to the top of the hill to see the bear. My wife ran away from the bear, and I ran to the top of the hill to see the bear.
Actually, it wasn't just you. All of y'all went.
We all did.
Sons.
It's true. It's true. Now, granted, please understand that when you encounter a black bear, you're supposed to make yourself as big as possible, not run from it, but even run towards it. You know, to take it on, so to speak. You encounter a grizzly bear, you're supposed to roll up in a ball and, protect your vital organs. What about a brown bear? Isn't there a brown bear? Same thing. Grizzly bear, just a different. They're both the bigger.
Okay.
They're not exactly the same, but they're.
I mean, this didn't look like a little black bear. This looked like
a
big brown bear.
Seriously, it was probably about a 400, maybe bigger, 400-pound.
He was big.
Black bear. They don't have brown bears in
Okay, in the mountains.
Great Smoky Mountains.
Okay.
No, so it was definitely a black
Okay.
bear, but it was not a little cute cuddly black bear.
No.
And come to find out, it had been down in a dumpster
Right.
eating
Right.
stuff that wasn't supposed to be put in the dumpster.
It was a construction dumpster.
Right, but somebody had dumped food in it, and it
Right.
had climbed over in the dumpster.
Right.
Nobody knew it was there
Right. Until
you came around that corner, and it decided to bound out of the dumpster.
and buddy did he was running.
And somebody had a little video of it, and it was running. It was like going, and it went up through the middle of the putt-putt course.
Yeah.
And, most of the people on the putt-putt course quit and left. Oh, after they came out of hiding.
Well, let me
There
just
were
say.
little buildings, these little buildings on the putt-putt course that the people crawled into and
Oh,
walked
yeah.
into some of the bigger ones, got
Michael.
inside of to get away from the bear.
You know,
'Cause
we were-
it scared everybody.
You know how we've said that we should not really get frustrated when we're delayed in going somewhere. I even heard
Yeah,
some.
so you should have waited to buy the ticket before you went to the
I'm
bathroom.
so thankful that that ticket person was not there because we would have been up on that putt-putt course where the bear was running into.
That's true.
And
And it would
I-
have been coming up toward us with nowhere for us to go except for
I would-
crawling into one of
I'm
those
telling
little
you,
buildings.
if I had seen it coming towards me, I'm just.
Well, we were about a mile from the borders of the national park encircle Gatlinburg. And so on the, I guess it's south side of the city, is where the bear had come from, and it was going to the north side or east to west or something. It was
Yeah,
crossing
she said
the
that
city.
it was just over the hill. It
And
wasn't
just
even a
over
mile
the hill,
away,
not even really a mile,
Yeah.
is the national park's
Right.
boundaries, and that's where it was going. It was going back into
Yeah.
the national park.
Yeah.
It had come down to eat.
I mean, if you smell funnel cakes in the trash can, you're gonna go. I would.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
would go
I
through the
want
trash
to
can
go
for
to the
funnel
trash
cakes.
can anyway for a funnel cake.
No, you didn't have to do that. There were just so many
We bought
places
them.
to get
Oh,
funnel
yeah.
cakes there. So
Okay.
anyway, so let's talk about the
Yeah.
dream part of it.
Okay.
Because we're never going to get to. We're probably not
Well,
going to
we
get to
don't have to
symbols.
talk about the dream because what I was going to ask you. Well, we can, but what I meant. Okay, so the dream itself. We look at it, and I wanted to interpret it. How could I interpret that dream? So I was warning someone to be careful. There was a bear. Was it really related to the bear that we were going to see in Gatlinburg? I think this was a double meaning dream.
Yes.
One was you're going to encounter a bear.
Yep.
And I was fearful. And I knew in the dream, I had more wisdom in the dream about telling everyone, don't disturb the bear, don't get too excited. And I was there helping Sarah get into a pool and helping her swim. And so I don't think the dream is just about me having seen the bear. I think the dream is about me helping my granddaughter and to ease into things, to move into things and
If you wanna-
protection for her.
Yeah, if you want a more spiritual interpretation of your dream, the dream says there are things that if they were aroused would be hungry to devour. That's what it was doing in the trash can. The bear you actually encountered was devouring food. Would be hungry to devour things that are beneficial to us or things
Right.
devour us or whatever.
Right.
It's kind of a attack, a spiritual warfare attack of
Yeah.
sorts.
Right.
And there are things that, if it were stirred up, would cause harm to you or to your granddaughters. And that would include your family, the little ones in your
Right.
family.
Right.
And so the dream is saying that, in a spiritual sense, the dream is saying there are things that, if they were stirred up, would create a hardship or would cause a loss, cause you to suffer loss. But if you'll be calm and simply just slip into the things of the Spirit and let God take care of the attacks,
Yeah.
then everything's okay. And it's something you're being taught, you're being shown that you can teach and you can impart to another generation. So
Yeah.
there's a beautiful spiritual meaning. And and honestly, when you told me the dream before we went, I had no idea what the dream meant,
Right.
spiritually or otherwise.
Right.
And I think there's a reason. I think the Lord withheld interpretation to that dream, and that happens sometimes, folks. That
Yeah, it
there are
does.
times when no matter how gifted you are at dream interpretation, no matter how good you are from training at dream, God just withholds the interpretation
Right.
for various reasons. And in this case, I think there was a reason was that to withhold it was that it had both a deeply spiritual meaning and it had a more practical meaning. And if we had focused on the spiritual meaning, which we would have had we interpreted it before we left,
Yeah.
then even those little things that slowed you or caught you subconsciously and slowed you down from running away,
Right.
because that's really what happened. You realized as you began to run that it was not wise.
Right.
And that's something that came from
That's
the
when
dream.
I went to the walk run.
Right.
First, I looked for doors that I could slip into and hide.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing actually at the pool. The above ground pool that I helped Sarah get into, you know how trampolines have the mesh surrounding? There was something like that going all the way around the pool. And I was on a deck, and you can see how you can get really detail oriented with
Right.
dreams. And
And
all
we
that
didn't
really
need
didn't
all that
matter. But
detail.
let me just say real quick. I opened the door. Someone had knocked. I went to the door and I said, "Be quiet. There's bears over there." And I remember walking along, the board, what do you call it, a deck around this above ground swimming pool. And then there was this surround that went all the way around it. And it wasn't terribly tall. But I knew if I could be quiet and just gently slip Sarah into it, she had swimmies on or something. Because I thought she'll be okay in there by herself.
Yeah.
But then I was still watching to make sure the bears were not coming,
Yeah.
So, and there's more detail to the dream too, but I mean,
But that
it's not,
simple meaning, spiritual meaning,
Right.
is sufficient. And then the natural meaning or the more practical meaning became applicable to you
Yeah.
with the situation. And this is a place where sometimes that was not a vision. We talk about the difference between a dream and a vision. A vision is more literal. A dream is
Right.
more metaphorical. That was not a vision. It didn't literally happen by a swimming pool
Right.
with your granddaughter, with our granddaughter, with you.
exactly, because she didn't even go with us.
Wasn't a baby bear there, wasn't a pool deck, but it was a dreamy vision. In other words, you did encounter a bear.
Right.
And the metaphors of the dream part were there to tell you to be wise in the way you handled that encounter on a practical level. So it had dream vision elements. And we talk about that all the time, that's the way Daniel, for example, dealt with dreams and visions. There were dreams visions in the night while he slept on his bed, and there were
Right.
dreams during the day, and there were dreams inside of visions and visions inside of dreams.
Right.
And so we take the vision aspects of that, you're going to encounter a bear, and then the dream aspects that we interpret, don't run, be wise, be careful, use good judgment, warn other people. You did all those things.
Yeah.
Whether you did them immediately or not, you did them, and part of that rises up, and we call it subconscious, but it's really part of that's rising up out of your spirit,
Right.
calming you and moving you back into a place of responding in the correct way. And so there's a very, very practical interpretation to the dream,
Yeah.
as well as the more spiritual interpretation to the
Right.
dream.
Right.
So I think it's a great, example and illustration of how that kind of thing works.
Right.
And I will say, all of us were very careful to watch for bears for the rest of the night.
Yeah. Even me, we live on a small little farm in, that's so weird for me to say, but we live in a really, I don't even know if you call it a farm, but it's a small little farm.
Well, 3 acres, and
Yeah.
we grow stuff, and we have bees. And,
Yeah. But I know we're right at the foothills of some of the last of the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah.
So I get a little concerned when I come out from my car at night thinking about bears.
Well, we have wildlife in our backyard,
Yeah, I mean,
in
we
our
have
front yard, in
deer,
our backyard all the time. Noah and I
raccoons.
came home from somewhere the other night. No, Jacob and I came home from
Yeah.
somewhere the other night. We'd been together, and there's a deer standing in the front yard as we walk up.
Well, there was a deer last night in the yard while they were we had the fire pit going in the backyard with some people, and
Yeah,
we
so
had deer
there's
in the front
deer,
yard.
there's
Yeah.
deer, and a place we lived about 3 miles from here a few years ago. I saw a black bear run up the hillside behind the house, and one of our sons was awakened in the middle of the night, sleeping on the couch
Right.
in the den by
Right.
the deck on the back of the house,
Right.
to a bear sort of scratching at the windows, and everybody thought it was silly till he and I found the bear tracks and the scat
Yeah.
down by our creek the
Right.
next day.
Right.
That wasn't a bear. Nobody believed I saw a bear run. And we
Yeah.
talked to the game warden, And he said, yes, we have bears come through here all along now.
Yeah.
They're getting to be fairly regular. So there's a legitimate reason why you would have
Right.
those concerns. We,
Well,
all the different wildlife
I don't mean to just
around
talk
us.
about myself, but I was thinking too how, I used to have nightmares about
Gorillas.
gorillas.
I know.
I don't anymore, really.
Now you have nightmares about bears.
More so about bears. So, what does a bear mean in a dream?
Okay, so a bear in a dream, and I said it kind of earlier. A bear, if you think about it, and part of this comes from cartoons, and part of this comes from reality. When you are in a bear populated area like the Great Smoky Mountains, where there's an abundance of bear, or Yosemite or Yellowstone, or places out west where there are grizzly bears, anytime there's a lot of bears, and I know that some parts of the world where they're listening to this podcast don't have bears at all. We don't have lions. Other parts of the world don't have bears, but the bears are our big predators. And so anytime you're dealing with bears, whether it be in real natural tendencies or the cartoon depictions of them, they're hungry.
Right.
Bears are very hungry creatures. And they're very much driven by seeking out food and food sources.
Right.
If you remember
Something
the cartoon,
sweetly smelling a
yes,
lot
and
of
if you remember the
times.
cartoon side of it, Yogi Bear was always, he and Boo Boo were always looking to steal one of the Jellystone Park's picnic, one of their guests' picnic baskets,
Yeah.
because they always wanted the food. So it's in the
Right.
cartoons. It's in real life. That bear that you encountered was in a dumpster where food had been dumped improperly. Every trash can we passed in the mountains had a locking mechanism on it where a person
Right.
had to actually open it, put their trash in,
Yeah.
tilt it up, and it dumped in a way that would be impossible for an animal to get into it. Why? Because bears seek out food to devour it.
Yeah.
And so a very, very common meaning for a bear in a dream is going to have to do with something that's coming after you, that's hungry to devour something you carry, something you need, something you have, something that's beneficial to you.
Is that the
something
negative
that brings
side?
you substance. That's the negative side.
Okay. Is there a positive?
A more positive side would be that a bear tends to be a creature that is going to be very protective of its young.
Okay.
Okay,
Right.
That's another reason though why in reality you're careful around them. If you're near
Right.
their cubs,
Oh, you're in trouble.
They're gonna
Yeah,
get it. Mama bear's
exactly.
gonna keep you away.
Right.
You've got colloquial meanings like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears type meaning, that the large bear is the one that wants the big portion, the smaller bears, the smaller portion
Right.
kind of things. You've got other types of meanings that will come into play as well, but a really, really common meaning is the negative meaning
Okay.
that has to do with
What
being
about
hungry to
bearing
devour
one
something.
another's burdens?
Now that's a wordplay, or so we've got the wordplay concept that you're going to bear this for someone else, and typically in those cases you would see the bear in a little different type circumstances, so it would be much clearer that it was a wordplay
Right.
as opposed to a symbol based on its characteristics or qualities.
Right.
So yeah, it's a very common way of looking at bears as negative, but we don't want to always look at them as negative.
So, what if there's another little part to this dream? Would it change the meaning? It really wasn't even a second part. I just remember after letting Sarah go into the pool and letting her swim for a moment, trying to be really quiet. Suddenly that faded, and then I'm standing there with Jennifer Aniston, and I start acting really silly. I start doing cartwheels, jumping jacks, and stuff like that. I mean, why? Why does that even have to be in the dream?
Well,
I mean, it's
and
a
I don't think
silly-
it change.
no,
I don't
it
think it
doesn't.
changes the meaning of
Right.
the dream as a whole.
Right.
But it does speak something into it. So, what does Jennifer Aniston mean to you? What does she represent to you? When we look at names, celebrities, when we look at titled people and positions and things like that, we have to consider
Okay.
what do they mean to you on
Right,
a personal
right.
level. So,
Okay.
what does that mean to you on a personal
I
level?
do love her movies usually. Whatever she's in, to me, she's a very funny actress, but she's kind of an accidental funny. She doesn't try really hard, just the way she acts things out. So I do enjoy watching her movies and stuff.
And what did she play in?
Actually, I feel like she and I could be best friends if she just met me.
Yeah, what was she in? Most common things or most well-known things she's in? TV show, movie, what?
Oh, I mean, she was in the Friends, the sitcom, The Friends. But
so she was in Friends.
yes.
So she can represent friendship
Oh,
and
and I just
relationship.
said if she would meet me, we would be the best
Right.
friends.
And so she would represent friendship or relationship. And what what this is saying to you is that if you're dealing with a difficult situation, like some kind of attack and having to slip into the things of the spirit and be careful and
Right.
cautious, your relationships will be what brings you joy and lightens the situations.
Oh, that's
So
good.
it's a really simple,
That's good. Yeah.
simple process there. So I love it doesn't change the dream, but when you add that understanding to it, it helps you say, oh, there's a positive side that comes out of this, that this is a place where I need relationship and I need support,
Right.
and I can show off who I am when I
With
have
my
support
friends.
with my friends. I
Yeah.
can be myself
Yes.
with my friends and not have to worry about those
Yeah.
challenges and those
Yeah, that's
tests.
so good. See, and these are things I know. These are things I know. These are things I tell people. When they tell me someone showed up in their dream that maybe I'm not familiar with, or an actor or whatever, a friend or someone they work with, I'm like, well, what do they do? What's their purpose? What do they mean to you? And that's something I could have asked myself. But isn't it true, Michael? It's so hard to know dreams for ourselves. And last night, baby, I don't know what was going on with you, but something was getting after you, and you was
See,
fighting.
you
So-
run in
I
real
wanted to
life
wake
from
you
bears.
up.
I run in my dreams from things.
You were going-
and I physically run and move.
You were so tore up.
Well, we're almost out of time for Dream Stories podcast. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you remember
I
fighting?
don't remember it all.
Okay,
No.
can I have your permission to wake you up the next time that happens? Because
No,
you
I
were
don't.
pitiful.
I don't get enough sleep right now. So we have so many things going on right now. I don't sleep
You were
enough.
so pitiful.
On a night when I've had several nights of good sleep, you have my permission to wake me up. So.
I felt like you were suffering.
Well, I don't remember it, so obviously I wasn't suffering too bad. So,
Listen,
um,
if you hear me and that whatever you was doing last night, the and crying almost, you better wake me up.
okay, all right, I can do that.
Okay.
We really are almost out of time, and we didn't really get to anything but bears. So,
Okay.
which is part of what triggered my whole idea of talking
Bears
about
and
the symbolism.
friends.
Bears and friends, it's true. So why don't we do this?
Okay.
We're out of time for today. Let's carry over and just
Okay.
go ahead and record another podcast for next week, because we're going to be out of town the following week.
Okay.
And we can record it now, and let's talk about the different symbols, other
So if
things.
they see us wearing the
We-
same clothes, they'll know that we did bathe and take a bath. And
Yeah,
we're not
you're
wearing
worried
this-
about those kind of things, right? So we're going to record two back to back,
Okay.
and let's go ahead and talk about those
Okay.
different things in nature.
Okay.
Symbols we find in nature, and talk about just like we did with the bear.
Okay.
All right, sound good?
Sounds
Well, in that case, we are out of time.
Okay.
And I'll remind you to like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah.
And let us know you're watching or you're listening or how you're watching or listening. We really appreciate it. And till next time.
Keep dreaming.